afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with Excalibur Data Systems and Sollertis today. We're going to be talking about making a business case for a business relationship management tool and platform. Some of the values, outcomes, and benefits that are associated with standing up BRM as a capability, as well as why it's quickly becoming more mandatory that organizations have some level of tooling software to be able to track, manage, optimize all things BRM and in turn enabling digital transformation. I'm John Kleist, III. I'm a business relationship management professional with more than 10 years of experience in IT service management and ITIL, ISO 20000, the whole help desk, service desk world. I was the 2012 ITSMF USA Member of the Year. I am also a volunteer for the Business Relationship Management Institute, as well as the Cloud Credential Council for creating vendor-agnostic cloud standards for training and certification programs. With us, I have Simon Kent. Simon is the UK ambassador for the BRM Institute. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and we'll dive right into the content. Simon, you should have control.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, John. Okay, excellent. I hope I'm just going to click the right buttons and show my screen. Just let me know that you can see that, John.
I am seeing your screen, yes, Simon.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you, John, and thank you for the introduction, and welcome everybody to this webinar, where, as we said on the introduction, we're going to be talking through the business case for BRM tools and platforms, and we're going to really focus in on 5 key outcomes that can help you secure budget. We often find that as BRM capability is growing stronger and stronger, there is this need now to consolidate the activity of business relationship management and also the wider understanding of the relationship between IT and business and what that means, and where that consolidation and that growth of BRM capability is underway. We are seeing that this is now a time when tooling is becoming extremely necessary, along with the relevant training, the relevant certification, and of course membership into communities such as the BRM Institute that allows the BRM profession and the BRM capability to really establish itself and make a really strategic impact to organizations. So we're going to go through this slide deck. We should take about 40 minutes, around that sort of time. There should be time for questions and answers at the end of this session. So let's go ahead and get moving. So this is me. It's kind of like reflects what I look like, although I am in a t-shirt today, not in my shirt and tie. I'm looking very formal there. A bit more relaxed today. But my past, my history, very briefly, is that I've got a 33-year career since leaving college and so forth. So that looks like a 4-year career in manufacturing and engineering, but it actually has served very well in terms of a background for DevOps. For those of you who may be familiar with DevOps, you can understand that there's a lot of manufacturing analogies and terminology that comes into DevOps. But predominantly, I've been 29 years in IT and enterprise software, and really specializing in IT service management, business relationship management, of course, customer experience, looking at digital strategy, knowledge management, what does business value mean, and trying to sort of engineer what do we mean by value. It's a term that's bandied around a lot, but put some focus around that, and DevOps. So I'm Chief Innovation Officer and Principal BRM Consultant at Sollertis. That's how you pronounce it, by the way. Lots of people pronounce it in very different ways, but it's Sollertis is how you pronounce our organization. And but as John said on his introduction, I'm the Global Ambassador for the Business Relationship Management Institute, the UK regional leader. I've been involved with an organization here in the UK called the SDI, the Service Desk Institute for Global Best Practice Standards. I was honored to be a BRMI, the Business Relationship Management Incident Trailblazer Award, and that was for the work on the platform for business relationship management that we developed. So yeah, it's a real honor that was. I was involved in various different organizations in the ITSM space. Most recently, up to a couple of years back, was the Vice President of Global Customer Experience for Cherwell Software, with some pretty good retention figures and customer satisfaction figures there. And again, back in SDI, Service Desk Institute, I've helped coach and lead several organizations to be in a sort of finalist position in various award categories. So I hope I'm qualified enough to be able to speak to you today, and I do recognize that on the call today we have some very, senior qualified business relationship managers, and knowing the role and knowing what that entails, I applaud and tip my hat to you. So I hope I can do you all justice. Let's first off set some scene here. By the way, I have no affiliation whatsoever to Deloitte and the Deloitte University Press, but for those that haven't seen this particular survey, I'd urge you to take a look at this. It's freely available from their website, and it's the 2016-17 Global CIO Survey, where 1,200 CIOs across 23 industry segments were surveyed and in 48 different countries around the world. And a whole bunch of different questions, but one of the key things that I pulled out of this survey was what does it mean by value? What do we mean by value? What are the high value things that we must be doing in this as CIOs? And the number one thing that came out was to deliver IT capabilities that are connected to key business priorities. So in my mind, that phrase means that we have to fuse IT and business together. Now that speaks volumes to the BRM capability, because that is what BRM is all about, right? Is being able to progress up that maturity scale, progress up that maturity ladder to get to a strategic partnership relationship between IT or another service provider. So I'm talking about IT in this particular context and in this particular presentation, but of course it could be cross-functional BRM function, in which case you might be representing human resources, finance, legal, and many other different service provider organizations. But in the context of CIOs and the IT, to connect the IT capabilities to key business priorities, to strategy, right? To what the business cares about. We've often seen in our history, I have 29 years in this industry, for goodness sake, and that means that I have seen the fact that we've often used this term about alignment, and how IT has always sort of like had this role that's almost like in the basement. And that's changing. Thank goodness it is changing, and this is the time when IT and business truly need to fuse together to undertake a digital transformation, to undertake the exploitation of technology to the betterment of the overall business and the business objectives and the business purpose. So this connection with key business priorities is a #1 CIO driver challenge right now at the moment. Those are the priorities, those key priorities that were mentioned. What are our #1 drivers, our key priorities in our organizations? Well, they basically boil down to 5 things at the moment. This might change depending on the global economic environment in which we're operating. So these do move around, but right now, or at the time when this survey was taken, they are as follows in that top order there of customers, growth, performance, cost, and innovation. So customer experience and delivering on a customer experience is absolutely topmost in the business community, followed by growth, followed by performance, cost, and innovation. So it's interesting that cost is sort of fourth on that list, behind customers' growth and performance. So now if you look at typically what's happened in the past, where CIOs has generally been very cost conscious, what we're now seeing in the wider world is that CIOs are aware and being connected to much wider business priorities, typically, like I say, customers' growth and performance. Of those that were surveyed, it's then looked at, well, how many, what percentage are coming out to saying that to have strategic connection of IT activities with business strategy is critical. What percentage comes out? 78%. So 78% of those CIOs are saying that this strategic connection, connecting the IT activities, all IT activities with business strategy, is a critical success factor, right? 78%. And yet, when flipped on its head to say, okay, CIOs, how many are actually achieving this? How many are actually what you would classify as a class-leading capability in their organizations? 5%. So the gap between where we want to be, the 78% of saying, yeah, we want to be there, and the 5% that are saying, yeah, well, actually, we've got there, we're doing a really good job. Wow, what a huge gap to get to. And business relationship management and the IT business partnering function and capability is the primary method to get there. And so to set this scene, to finish off setting this scene, now is the time more than ever for BRMs and BRM capability. This is your time, folks. So, you know, this is the time to really kind of like charge forward and really look at what budgets you need. So let's move on now to getting this budget. You need to be able to go forward and say to your CIO or whoever your primary reporting line is, okay, you might report to the primary, to a business function, but you need to be able to set the case. This is what you do day in, day out, right, is write the business case for different initiatives and different ideas for utilizing technologies. Well, this is the time when you've got to do it for yourself and write that business case and be able to justify why you need the budget to move forward. So just finally, before we get on there, is what is convergence? Convergence is a term that's being utilized a lot inside of the community right now, inside of the industry right now, moving from alignment to convergence, and we're using this terminology. So what do we mean by this? And it's a terminology, it's a term that has been really championed from Business Relationship Management Institute, and I applaud them for it. So let's have a look at what it means. And this is, you know, my interpretation of it, but it's pretty close to the interpretation from BRM Institute, which is that convergence is the fusion of business and IT with shared goals and business outcomes. Okay, so we've highlighted their shared goals and business outcomes. We share that together. We don't have separate things. But I like to use the analogy of here, we're all in the same boat and we're all rowing in the same direction, okay? We're working together. We're not, you know, somebody's rowing hard on one side and somebody's rowing in the opposite direction on the other side, or in a completely different boat. We're all in this thing together and we're working together around the shared goals and business outcomes of our organization. To carry on that, it is where IT works in partnership with business to define strategy and enable critical capabilities. Key words there, right? It's partnership, defining strategy together, not saying, hey, what's your strategy? Should we go off and do something else and try and follow that? That's an alignment type of model, but actually defining strategy together and enabling critical capabilities. Flippantly, if you want to tweet some stuff, please go ahead and tweet. Yeah, by the way, my tweet handle is at the bottom there, as is the Sollertis handle at the bottom of the screen there next to the slide number. But, you know, tweet this. Convergence is the foundation of digital transformation. It really is. If you have that partnership and you have that capability where you're working to define strategy together, well, that means that you are sitting together hand in hand, metaphorically speaking, right? But you're working together to define the strategy that is going to enable the digital transformation of your organization. It's about relationships. Convergence can occur when the IT business relationship rocks, okay? That's just what it's about, okay? It's quite a flippant thing that we're going to make this business relationship rock, but it absolutely does. It's all about relationships. Now, people often say, hey, you can't put process around relationships. Hey, you can't put technology and tooling around relationships. Well, you're right. They're right in some way. They're wrong in another, and I'm going to hopefully show you why potentially they might be wrong. What is convergence? Final slide before I get into our 5 key strategies or 5 key outcomes. Convergence is a software platform from Sollertis, okay, that enables the IT business partnering capability and enables IT to co-create business strategy. We have built out this capability inside of a software platform, and so knowing that these tools exist, we're not the only ones out there, but we're one of the first that has actually gone out there and said, we're going to go out there and define a platform that the business relationship management capability can utilize, but it also provides so much benefit to the wider IT and business organization. Benefits that you're going to get to right now. So what is convergence? It's a platform. Okay. We're going to move on now to our 5 key benefits and outcomes of the tool. There are many, many that we have available to us. In fact, at the end of the deck, at the end of this slide, I'll list out so many more. But these are 5 that we're just going to pull apart a little bit more. So the first one here is the ability to visualize relationships. So you see here IT relationships, the associated data and the interdependencies are typically and commonly held in disparate systems of record. Typically these are in multiple file formats, or worse still, they're not even held anywhere at all, and that's just crazy. So when you have different file formats and different systems of record just hovering around all over the place, that just leads to so much inefficiency. So it makes that whole relationship management function really difficult. It's disjointed, it's inconsistent, it's by far and away way more time consuming than it needs to be. It's effectively, it's highly inefficient. So this quickly results in numerous business deficiencies, such as a decrease in productivity. There's an increase in overall operational cost. We get a poor IT business customer experience. So our business colleagues don't get a great experience, even from the business relationship management function, dare I say it. The inability to demonstrate IT business value against business outcomes. These are all areas that are diminished because of our inability to be able to sort of visualize these relationships and having this data in different places. We also increase our likelihood of business risk. We also, worse still, we fail in our ability to capture new technology, and that can lead to competitive advantage. So to be able to visualize relationships, and those relationships that we're talking about in terms of visualization, could be business partner to capabilities. That's the screenshot that we're seeing right there on the screen, right? Is business partner and the capabilities that that business partner undertake is visualized on that screen right there. But that same visualization could be used for strategy to outcomes, capabilities to IT service. Imagine having that a capability, one of those capabilities that you're seeing around that sales and marketing screen there, that you could drill into that and see the associated IT services that were supporting that particular capability. You can do this with good tools, with the ability to visualize all these different relationships. It goes on, ideas to value, plans, outcomes to ideas, outcomes to capabilities, business partners to engagements, and on and on and on and on and on. Wherever there is a relationship inside of the system that we've built, you can visualize that relationship through this mechanism that we're showing on the screen here now. It's really powerful. So the ability to see all connections and visualize that through a single console, it's kind of like a picture says 1,000 words type of scenario. It really does bring data and relationships to life in the screen in front of you. So what is the benefit of this? Well, it's complete reverse, if you think about it, of what I've just said earlier on. We now increase productivity. We reduce our operational cost, we absolutely increase employee engagement. You might go, well, how does that happen? Well, as a BRM, if you're running around trying to figure out who spoke to who about what, when did that happen? What are they interested in? What are their business capabilities that I documented and I put over there somewhere in that file system? I can't find them. Where are they? You can visualize this and pull it all together. Okay, so your engagement with your as an employee inside of your organization increases. That delivers a better customer or business experience to your business partners. It allows you as a BRM to focus on what you're supposed to focus on, which is business value. It creates opportunity to spot risk and business risk and see the relationship between risk and capability and service and so forth. So there's an opportunity to reduce business risk. It increases business reliability, having that ability to visualize all these relationships and see all the interdependencies between different entities, whether that's people, whether that's organizations, whether that's business processes, whether that's capabilities in IT, whether that's even down to a particular configuration item that might sit inside of the CMDB. I hope you're familiar with that term, but if not, it's the configuration management database inside of service management. To be able to see how that connects up to a business capability is really important. And of course, we increase our business flexibility. So there's our first outcome and benefit, the ability to visualize relationships and what that delivers for us. Our next outcome, increasing the business IQ. What we mean by increasing the business IQ here is increasing the business acumen of within our service provider domain. Unfortunately, and I've grown up in IT for plenty of years, and I've witnessed this a lot, IT generally doesn't and traditionally hasn't been able to speak business. It hasn't been able to articulate what IT does in business terms. So that has led to barriers to be formed between the business or the business function and the IT organization. And like I said earlier, convergence is about being in the same boat and rowing in the same direction and working as a team. So there shouldn't be this language barrier. There absolutely should not be that language barrier that exists. So we need in IT to be able to articulate our activities and what we are doing in the context of business, IQ and business acumen. And what that means is that we need to understand our purpose as a business. We need to understand our vision as a business and how that cascades. This is almost like a cascading model that you're seeing here between company strategy, the outcomes, the measurements of success, the underpinning capabilities and processes. If we have got that cataloged and we have captured that inside of this platform, it allows us to embed that acumen and that IQ into everything that IT then undertakes, whether that's service management. So we might be undertaking in service management a change request. If we can connect that change request to the associated business processes or business capabilities that could be impacted by that change request, we can now connect that that capability back up to an outcome, which in turn rolls up to a strategy. Suddenly we've connected that change request all the way back up to strategy. The same applies for a project, okay? So projects, we're constantly looking at what are the business benefits, but if we can connect those business benefits of the project all the way through to outcomes, to business strategy, to capabilities, we have a much better way of being able to articulate the value of the project, whether we should even proceed with this particular project. It suddenly means that IT as an overall organization can speak business. So we can capture this, we can govern, we can put governance around this as well to make sure that if we are capturing a new business objective in the strategy section of the tool, or we're capturing a new business outcome that's connected to one of our business partners, we can put governance around this. We can ensure that we are capturing the right data. We can ensure that we are, does this capability or does this outcome, does it connect with value? And are we able to ensure that that value is articulated? So this increase of business IQ is essential for business IT partnering. It is absolutely essential. And what it does is actually allows us to turn reporting on its head. So traditionally, we've been reporting from IT in a very IT kind of fashion, okay? What this capability allows us to do is turn this completely on its head, and we can now produce business value reports, business value dashboards that are centered around the capability or centered around a particular outcome or a particular strategy or a particular business partner. And we're able to show the value of what we're doing in IT and what we're doing in terms of business relationship management and PMO and projects and all of the areas of IT. We can show that activity, but we can connect it immediately back up to business awareness, this section in the tool, this business IQ. That speaks absolute volumes. And as a BRM, to have this at your fingertips suddenly allows you to articulate value at the drop of a hat. And this is the place where you would store, as you are having your engagements, you're storing or you're conversing with your business partners about what's keeping them up at night, what are their challenges, what is a brilliant day like, you know, in terms of their successful outcomes. Well, this can all be used, this can all be cataloged in this single point and single system of record. But the point is, it's not just for your consumption, it's for consumption across all of IT. So what does this give us as a benefit? It gives us transparency of purpose. That transparency of purpose will immediately give an increase of employee engagement. I guarantee it. We had a particular customer who saw this and has implemented this particular part of the tool, and he got really excited, and he was head of operations and responsible for the service desk, and he said, do you know what, when we're logging tickets on the service desk and we can embed what are the affected business processes and what their business capabilities, and we can click a button that visualizes the relationship, remember that visualizing relationship thing that we talked about, that if we can visualize the relationship from capability to outcome to strategy, the guys on the service desk, the folks on the service desk, they can now connect that incident, that ticket, to strategy. Wow, that immediately increases the employee engagement overnight. That allows an overall focus on business value. When you have this right front and center, right bang in people's faces, right, there is no choice but focus on this business value. It's right there in front of you, and that just is constantly reinforced. That in turn increases the provider reputation, IT's reputation, because everybody in IT is starting to articulate themselves in a business IQ, business acumen type of way. And of course, that's going to give you, as a BRM, the enablement of strategic relationship management. It allows you to focus on strategy. It allows you to focus on the big picture stuff, the stuff that really you want to get into. But oftentimes you're held back because you're involved in operational stuff, because it's just being miscommunicated. Let's move on. Our third one, a focus on strategic relationships. The ability to be able to focus on strategic relationships is absolutely paramount, right, as a business relationship manager. So often when I've attended BRM Institute Connect conferences, when I've been on webinars, when I've been into their forums, we speak and we network and we're talking, and so often there's just that almost you kind of like go, oh my goodness, the same things have to change, because there's so much emphasis on we are getting lost, we're getting noise, we're getting drowned in operational work. And we don't want to be involved in all this operational work. I hear so often that business relationship managers almost say, oh, sometimes I feel like a service delivery manager. It makes me think, well, why are we having service delivery managers? Why are we having BRMs? Well, the fact is you need to focus. You need to move up the conversation, right? You need to move it up into a strategic conversation. But that can only happen when you have that that data being surfaced to you from all of the different areas of IT. So that means that you can say, hey, I've got an overview of this stuff. I've got a visibility of this stuff. I can, we can delve into some of this stuff if you want me to, but what I can do is just, have a cursory overview, summary view of this stuff as I'm conversing and as I'm engaging with my business partner. In this case, my screenshot here is my business partner is the sales and marketing business function, business unit. But what we're seeing there is data from multiple points across IT merged with data about the relationship with IT, our understanding of their capabilities, our understanding of their business outcomes, even to the point where our business outcomes offers us KPIs and metrics around if these business outcomes are defined, how many of them have associated primary KPIs? Well, actually, not all of them do. So that offers us the chance to have a strategic conversation with maybe the head of sales and marketing in this case to say, why have we got some outcomes that you are concerned about that actually we haven't got associated KPIs for? What's going on there? How can we help? What have you realized that? Is there something that you need to be telling me? Is there something that we need to work on together? That in itself is just that conversation offers up amazing value to that particular business partner. So what we're able to do with this particular outcome is be able to really focus on strategic relationships as a result of pulling together activity and work from different sources. So that might be service delivery. So we might connect it to IT service management and be able to see incidents, changes, service desk activity, continual service improvement planning. So be able to see that information. We might connect it to project and PMO work, very likely, because we're probably more focused on that traditionally as business relationship management, so we can pull up those in terms of business transformation activities. We can see our own work. We can see the number of engagements we might have had, the number of initiatives that we're working on, the number of value plans, and where are we in all of those initiatives and value plans. Development work could be articulated up into this as well, and it connects to business. So it's being able to see this in a single console. That is massive to be able to focus on strategic relationships. So joining up all the data is one of the outcomes of convergence, of our convergence tool, is to be able to pull all this data together, join it all up, and make it meaningful. So this focus on strategic relationships, what's the benefit? Again, it's an increase in productivity. It's been that ability to be able to focus on the work that really drives value, that really drives the enablement of partner success. So again, being able to do that allows us to reduce operational cost. Okay, we as BRMs don't find ourselves caught on the back foot. We don't have to go scrabbling around to ask people what's the status of this, what's the status of that particular thing before I go into my meeting. Oh, I've got to pull all this data together, I've got to run these reports. No longer. You just rock up to your engagement and you just go, let's have a look, and have a look at it together, right? And you just huddle around the screen, go onto a self-service portal and just see all this data coming to you. It reduces business risk because you're able to focus more on strategy and be able to spot business risk. You're able to focus on business value way more. Of course, it's the enablement of strategic relationship management. That goes without saying, but it really does increase partner success. And when I mean partner success, I mean business success, because we're all in this boat together, right? So it's an increasing business success. Our outcome number 4, shared business outcomes. If you recall back on the slide earlier where we defined convergence, what is the definition of convergence? And we had that statement around shared business outcomes and goals, okay, and then being able to define strategy. So shared business outcomes, being able to focus on that together allows us to do some pretty hefty, really rock and roll strategic planning, okay? So we as business relationship managers, right, and the business relationship management capability. We're talking about co-creation of strategy and co-creation and shared business outcomes. Well, if we're going to share business outcomes, we'd better be able to see those business outcomes. We'd better be able to manage those business outcomes. We'd better be able to articulate how we're doing around that business outcome. What are the enablers of that business outcome? What are we doing in IT to support and increase the probability of being successful with that business outcome? What are the things that could impact that particular business outcome? What are the things that are business as usual that we need in place that ensure that that business outcome is going to be attained? These are all things that we need to understand and be able to look at that. So, you know, oftentimes these take the form of presentations, slide decks, strategy documents, strategic planning tools, possibly enterprise architecture, but oftentimes these are scattered and disconnected from the day-to-day business operations. So whilst we might have a lot of this defined out there already, oftentimes they're just all over the place, right? They're in all these different areas, and so to be able, if they're all over the place, you can't. It goes back to this relationship thing again, right? So we as business relationship managers are managing relationships. But if your tool, if your platform that you're using helps you visualize those relationships, and you can visualize the relationship between an outcome and a capability, and an outcome and a strategy, and an outcome and a business engagement, and so on and so on and so on, you are managing that piece of the relationship, and in that sense it's this shared business outcome. So through convergence, it is now possible to create and manage these shared business outcomes, which allows us to have an engagement model. Our strategic engagement model is now centered entirely on business success and business value. That's a big thing. So we catalog this in a central place. This is all part of that business awareness section, but it's cataloged in a central catalog. It allows us to do this outcome-focused engagement model. It allows us to work together in partnership to co-create strategic planning. It means that all IT work can focus on outcomes in one way or another, okay? So even if it's a service desk call where you link to a particular capability, well, that capability connects to an outcome. Bang, you've just connected that service desk call to an outcome, albeit via a capability connection in between, but it's still connected. For those of you that are familiar with DevOps, having this shared business outcomes and having this wider view of business acumen and business intelligence, business IQ, actually plays exactly to the first way of DevOps. If you're familiar with the 3 ways of DevOps, and the first way of DevOps is systems thinking. And systems thinking is being able to see the big picture, being able to see things in context and know that what you are doing as a piece of work, whatever that is, it has an impact, it has value, it has an outcome, okay? And be able to visualize that and see the bigger system. It absolutely plays to DevOps perfectly. So the benefits of this, again, we're going to repeat some of these benefits over and over. There's so much repeated benefit here, but it's transparency of purpose again, right? If we and the wider service provider community can visualize and see this purpose, these outcomes, these strategic objectives, we have transparency of our purpose. That's massive. That means that we can focus as not just BRMs, but in terms of the entire organization, we focus on business value. We focus on these outcomes. We go, yeah, that's what matters. That KPI that's tracking that increased average order value, that is what matters. That's what we really care about. Let's row the boat together to make it happen. This means we increase our productivity, we reduce our operational costs again, we reduce the associated business risk, and we absolutely increase business success. Our final outcome and benefit that we're looking at here is digital initiative pipeline. As I said in a slide earlier, I said that convergence is the foundation for digital transformation, right? So digital transformation is going to involve a whole boatload of ideas. Okay, so there's people out there going, hey, what about this? Hey, what about this? Oh, we've got this great idea. And we as BRMs are responsible to be able to articulate and explore options around new technology and be able to shape demand around that introduction, that's the word I'm looking for, that introduction of new technology into our organization in order to deliver a brand new capability or deliver an enhanced capability. We have to be looking at this digital pipeline that's coming down the line, right? So we need a way of being able to manage this stuff. And the way to manage this stuff is that we have to have consistency around initiatives, consistency around ideas. And what we have inside of the tool here is a business initiative process that mimics the idea process pretty much from Business Relationship Management Institute in their body of knowledge. It's very close to it. And what we do here is we offer a consistent idea process, a consistent initiative process. Each idea, you capture the idea document inside of the forms. Those can be surfaced up, of course, into self-service portals, so you can even get your business partners to submit their ideas themselves so that that lands on your queue as a sort of pre-submitted idea. That allows for the consistency around value planning and scoring. So what value are we expecting to get from this? This allows us to do some risk profiling around the impact and what's going to be affected in terms of change, what's going to be impacted. Things like business capabilities, existing business capabilities or existing business processes could be affected by this great idea that somebody's come up with. So we need to understand that. We need to be able to, once again, visualize that. We need to pull these relationships together in the context of this business initiative and see how things can either give us benefit or increase our risk. We need to understand that business impact. We need to look at benefits and linking those together. We need to do investment profiling and look at the potential ROI on this particular initiative and investment. Absolutely, we need to look at that. And we need to look at the pipeline in terms of being able to go, well, which one should we be focused on versus risk versus value, versus investment, does it meet the right investment class, and so forth. So the ability to manage this pipeline is absolutely critical. The final thing that we offer in this particular outcome or this particular feature, if you like, in the product is the ability to link to value realization. It's incredible the number of organizations that I speak to almost daily where they say, you ask the question, what are you doing about value realization? Oh, yeah, we do some benefit stuff on the back of a project, but project management sometimes do it, they sometimes don't. Really, let's be honest, the measure of success on a project is the fact it got delivered. That's not value realization, right? Value realization, as you all know on this seminar, is the active process that is undertaken and the responsibility of business relationship management capability. But accountability or ownership of value is back with our business partner, because that's where the demand has come from. That's where the idea has come from or been worked on together. And we share that value, and we share that value realization process. So to connect value realization back to an initiative is critical. It is absolutely critical, because once you are able to articulate value realization as a function, as a person, as a role, people will look to you and go, that's bang on. Why haven't we done this before? You're going to be the hero or heroine of your organization because you're actively undertaking value realization. So this means, once again, we have our benefits, the focus on business value. This is all about the focus on business value. If we've got an idea and it's a crazy idea, it's massive high risk, it's got very low value, that doesn't mean to say we'll delete it from the database, but we'll park it. We'll just put it into a parking lot or an archive type of area that we can pull it back out at a later date, because actually in the context of time, it might be that actually the risk has diminished, the value has increased. Hey, yeah, now that's a really good idea. Let's move forward with it. So the ability to just focus on what gives us the biggest bang, the most bang for our buck, right, is critical, and this capability gives you that. It's better, therefore leads to better portfolio and investment. It includes active value realization. Like I say, so many organizations are not undertaking value realization, but this incorporates it. It increases business flexibility. It allows you to make some business decisions very, very quickly. You can get through this process as fast or as slow as you need to, but it really is a very fast process as well, so it supports an agile working model. It reduces risk because you're seeing the risk of any one particular initiative at any one time. It is absolutely the enablement of strategic relationship management. This is what it's all about, is being able to surface up and shape demand, okay, through this initiative process. And of course, it leads to increased business success. So those are the 5 key areas that we're going to focus on today. There is more, and we can quickly touch on these very, very quickly. Digital ecosystem mapping. Now, this is a bit of a terminology. That's a bit of a, ooh, what does that mean? For digital transformation, it's really imperative to be able to map and visualize the digital ecosystem. What we mean by that is being able to identify the critical capabilities that offer the biggest value to your strategic objectives. So in the context of those strategic drivers that we saw right at the beginning, which was customer experience, growth, performance, cost, okay, what are the critical capabilities in your organization that deliver against those particular strategic drivers? If you know that, and you then connect the IT services and the components that make up that IT service. Now think about that for a moment. The components that make up that IT service. That might be software, it might be hardware, it might be cloud, it might be a relationship with a supplier, it might be a contract, it might be I've run out. There we go. But it could be all of those things that make up that ecosystem that delivers that service that connects to that capability. To be able to map that is essential to be able to look at risk mitigation. If we're going to make a change, just one of those things in that infrastructure, in that makeup of that ecosystem, we can see it and we can see how it connects to other pieces in the ecosystem. So that's really important. Business value dashboards. We've seen some of these actually in the screenshots as we've been going through this. That ability to be able to show IT value in the context of business value, to be able to merge and meld those two things together in a single dashboard, to be able to see our business measurements of success coupled with our IT activity and success. So imagine, for instance, you could still show the SLA performance of service management coupled with the KPIs of a particular outcome. That makes sense. In fact, we do that. So that's what we deliver in terms of business value dashboards. Organizational culture change. I hope you see through some of this stuff that where we've used about transparency of purpose, this really helps facilitate an organizational cultural change, okay, change of attitude, a change of behavior, change of culture, okay. So having this data and having this facility at your fingertips and at the fingertips of the wider audience really helps reinforce a cultural change. Value realization enablement, we've already discussed that. That's such an essential thing. So few organizations do it, but it's delivered straight here out of the box. The business outcome-led engagement model, we've already touched on that as well, but that focus around outcomes. That's what really matters. If we're rowing in the same direction, are we going to get to the finish line first? That's what we care about, right? So that's what it's all about. Increased efficiencies in BRM workload. So the workload that's coming through and will likely increase for the BRM capability, it means that you can take on more. You can take on more work because you're managing your work through a single system of record, engagement, and relationship. It's all in one place. It means you can get at that data, you reuse that data, and so on. Efficient onboarding of BRM teams. I hear so often about, new starters or BRM teams with multiple members, of course, within their team, who say, oh yeah, we operate in slightly different ways. We conduct the way we handle relationships in different ways. I get that from a people-to-people point of view, but in terms of the work and the way you diarize and the way you manage your initiatives and the way that business outcomes are cataloged and so on and so forth, there has to be consistency. And that means if there's consistency, that means you can bring a new BRM into the team and get them, boom, off and running way faster. You can onboard them and train them and show them the way of the BRM capability in your organization way quicker. And still more. You'll be pleased to see this really is the end. And still more. The ability to capitalize on automation. These platforms all come with workflow automation. So have you actually thought about, I mean, there's the trend in IT service management right now is left shift. Have you ever thought about left shifting BRM? Okay, and I'm not saying, hey, let's shift you out of a job. No, if we left shift the stuff that you can automate, it allows you to focus on the stuff that's really strategic and in many respects can't be automated. That's massive. If you can do that, that's just bonkers. You've really made a huge increase and you're getting massive value and you are delivering massive value. That leads on to a continual improvement strategy that you can actually, as BRM and as a BRM capability, put your own improvement strategy around what you do and how you do it. It means that every BRM reporting can be, sorry, I'll start again. The report of the BRM activity and the value is always against outcomes. That's what I'm trying to say there. So again, when people say, well, what value are we getting from BRM? I mean, goodness me, I heard of an organization the other day that was actually completely shutting down their BRM function. Who can believe it? How could that happen? And the reason is that the CIO, a new CIO came in, said, we're all about cost consciousness, we can't do this, we're outsourcing everything, complete change of strategy, and the BRMs could not articulate the value that they were delivering, and so therefore they got laid off. That's a tragedy that happened, because if they had the ability to articulate value, even in a cost-conscious environment, then the need for the BRM is still absolutely essential, even in that environment. Of course, it leads to capacity planning for the BRM function and capability, and finally, it does support all the BRM metrics as recommended by the BRM Institute. So for example, key metrics from the BRM Institute. All ideas must have an idea document. Yeah, that's a given. All ideas must have an associated value plan. Yep, that's a given. You can get all this data out. All relationships must have a relationship strategy on a page. Yep, we got that as well. So I won't go through them all, but the point is the data that resides in these tools and the tool like CONVERGENCE gives you the ability to report back to your superiors, your reporting lines in a way that says, look, these are the recommended BRM metrics as recommended by BRM Institute, and look how well we're doing. Good stuff. All right, that really is the end. Yep, my goodness me, it's now 4 minutes to the hour according to my my watch. John, are you still there?
I am still here. You're a rock star, Simon. I did put a question out just a couple of minutes ago. There were a couple of questions that came in. If you want to spend the last 4 minutes answering, I have 2 questions here. I thought are pretty relevant to most of the audience here.
Go for it.
Fire away. All right.
Please do.
So the first question that came in says, we have a brand new CIO and has just given me the role of BRM. Do you think that it should be a tool like Convergence, or should we figure out what we want to do with our BRM strategy first?
Oh, okay, right. So here's where we need to look at it. Did you say it's a brand new CIO? John?
Yeah, brand new CIO. Correct, sir.
Brand new CIO. Okay. Here's the great opportunity when you get a brand new CIO. Okay. When a brand new CIO starts in the organization, they are going to make their mark. They are going to be looking at things, and they're going to be going out there and securing budget. Hence, they secured budget to bring on board the BRM capability, because obviously this particular CIO is a smart person, right? Know what they're doing. They're bringing on a BRM capability. That is the time to secure the budget for tooling as well. If they are going to invest in the BRM capability, invest in tooling at the same time. The budget is open in that respect, okay? That's the window of opportunity. Go for it. That's what I say.
Love it. Couldn't agree more. I think just to add on to that, Simon, if you're with an organization that is doing lots of mergers and acquisitions, specifically in industries like healthcare, where they're buying up doctors' practices and consolidating hospitals across a geographic region, that is also another perfect time. So I think a leadership change, as well as if you're a heavy acquisition type company, is a great place to look at BRM as you try to consolidate operations between multiple different organizations.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay.
And Simon, the last question I have here is: are there any other tools out there that available for this?
Yeah, I mean, whether they offer this same level of capability, I couldn't honestly say. It's I'm aware of the tool. It's traditionally sat in the IT service management and enterprise service management space. I haven't firsthand seen the entire capability to support business relationship management and the business relationship management capability. So I'm not going to offer any judgment, but to answer the question, yeah, there absolutely is. ServiceNow is another tool that's out there that offers this capability. So how rich it is, whether it offers the same things that we do at Sollertis, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but they're in the same, they offer a play in this space as well.
Awesome. That's it for the questions. We like to be cognizant of time. It's exactly top of the hour. So with that, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for taking the time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us. If you would like a one-on-one session with Simon and myself, please follow up to the emails that will go out with a copy of the webinar recording that we'll throw up on YouTube in the coming days as well. Simon, any final words?
I'd just like to say thank you for everybody for joining today. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.